All right, welcome everyone. Day one here in Dallas has completed. We're here at the Hilton Anatole. I'm Jim. With me is Jose Negron from DK Pittsburgh Sports now. Jose, how you doing?
I'm good.
It's your first winter meetings?
First meetings.
Full day?
Yep. Excited to be here. Excited to be here with you guys.
Yeah, no, thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
So Jose's here to help us wrap up the first day here of winter meetings. Not a whole lot happening, not as much happening today as what happened yesterday. There were a few signings across Major League Baseball, but let's talk specifically about the Pirates and what they did. The morning started off with us finding out about a new front office hire in Michael Voltmer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So tell us, like, what role is he taking over? What do you know about him?
Well, he's basically going to be overseeing the pro scouting department from what I've heard. And, he comes from the Dodgers organization. So obviously anybody from a front office role, baseball operations, that comes from the Dodgers, that's a good background to have. So he's basically, I believe, going to be filling the role that Will Lawton held before he was reassigned to another role in September. So, I mean, like I said, anybody coming from the Dodgers organization, you got to feel like there's something there.
Yeah, it's coming from the Dodgers organization, so he's been around good people. Mm-hmm. He was promoted, I think, on 3 or 4 separate occasions with the Dodgers, so that obviously means that they liked him. Mm-hmm. And then not only that, he graduated from the University of Louisville, so
a big plus there.
Huge plus. Huge plus. So that was the start of the day. Then things kind of slowed down. This afternoon, though, you did get the chance to speak with both Derek Shelton and Ben Cherington. I think Shelton spoke to you all first, right? So I guess just like what all did Shelton have to say today?
Well, I think the main thing main 2 things that kind of caught my attention was first and foremost Brian Reynolds, and obviously a big thing this offseason is Brian Reynolds going to play first base, stick with left field. A lot of people think it's a good idea for him to shift over to first. He's never played a big league game over there. He did take some reps late in the season. We asked Derek Shelton about that specifically during one of the last road trips over at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. He said, maybe there's a potential there. Maybe there's a future, but right now he's just taking reps, no big deal. So today, we asked, hey, do you feel like this is something that's going to become more? Has he, done anything? I asked Shelton, has he done any work over at first? And he said, hasn't really started yet. Mm-hmm. Don Kelly has, kind of generated a plan, off-season routine for him to kind of go through. Reynolds obviously just played 156 games this year. Yeah. So a little bit of rest I feel like is deserved and warranted. Mm-hmm. But he's going to get into that routine, take some, first base reps. Don Kelly's going to meet with him, then Shelton and Kelly going down to Nashville to talk through it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like, because we heard that news like the last week of the season, and then it was really all quiet until we heard Ken Rosenthal put something out just last week about it. But yeah, it sounds like, Don Kelly put the plan together, sent Brian Reynolds home with that plan. So there may or may not be something there where Brian Reynolds does play first base. That information was kind of contradicted by Ben Cherington a little bit later in the day, so we'll get to that. Yeah. But yeah, that was certainly an interesting topic about how like Brian Reynolds has a plan on learning how to play first base, and they're going to check up on that plan, sometime throughout the offseason.
And I think it's important to note that Derek Shelton didn't say he's going to be the starter. He didn't say it looks like, if anything, it's going to be a limited rollover at first. Obviously, you have the rest of the offseason, because it still is early. It's still the beginning of December. So you have the rest of the offseason. You have all of spring training for him to go through these types of things. He'll still play outfield. He's still, as you mentioned with Ben Cherington, he's still an outfielder, first and foremost.
Yeah. So Derek Shelton talked about that. He also mentioned some updates on Ke'Bryan Hayes.
Said he's in a good spot, which is, obviously the best thing that you can hear from him. Obviously, he was going through, some of those, routines and things like that with the back of getting into baseball shape and, getting back to maybe where he can be. And, we've seen when Ke'Bryan Hayes has been healthy, he's been productive. Right. And, he's participating in all baseball activities. He's swinging the bat. He's fielding. I mean, he's doing things that he needs to do in order to get back healthy. Yeah.
So he touched on Hayes, which, if Hayes can get back to being healthy, huge plus for this team. They desperately need him to be healthy and to be able to be productive at that third base position. He also mentioned David Bednar hoping for a bounce back, and that, like, I think his quote was, if he was going to bet on somebody to bounce back, it would be David Bednar.
Yeah, and one of the questions was, do you see him as being a closer coming into the season? And obviously, still very early. They're not going to say, yeah, he's without question going to be our closer, because anything could happen from now until the beginning of the season. I mean, there are options there, aside from David Bednar, but I mean, he's a two-time All-Star. He's a guy who tied for the National League lead in saves just 2 years ago, coming off obviously. Not arguably, actually, his worst season as a major leaguer. So, there's more to be desired there, of course. He was removed from the closer's role this year. Aroldis Chapman went into that role, but now he's gone. So there are some internal options there, but, perhaps a full offseason of preparation and getting back into shape and into David Bednar shape will help him out.
Anything else that Shelton kind of dove into today?
Yeah, I think those are kind of the main things. A couple of different updates on, like you said, with Brian Hayes, David Bednar, Brian Reynolds. Those were kind of the main, topics. But, this is obviously a big offseason for this Pirates team. And one of the things actually that kind of stood out to me was the fact that, I asked him what needs to improve for this offense to be better. Like, what needs to happen for this offense to be better? And he said, we need to add to the group. And I thought that was, him saying, go out and do something. If it's not even during the winter meetings, like this offseason, you can't wait until spring training and settle for,
You can't just go in with what you got right now. You got to add something.
Right.
Cool. So Shelton again talked. He talked on MLB Network a little bit today before talking to you guys. But then also Ben Cherington made some time to talk to the media as well. So I guess what was Cherington's message? What questions did you guys have for him today?
Yeah, I think the main thing too was he said that they need to add as well. There are different ways that they can do that, whether it be through free agency. Obviously, trades are a big must for a team like the Pirates. Trading from an area of strength within the pitching. He said that it may not happen, but considering that and having that be an option is a must for a team like the Pirates. So that was one thing. Obviously, talked about the Brian Reynolds potentially going to first, and he views Brian Reynolds as an outfielder. Obviously, things can change over the course of time. Brian Reynolds is the type of guy who's going to do anything possible to help this team win. That means going over to first base, he's going to do it. So there are options there. He talked about the front office shuffling that's been going on really all off season. Didn't expect this much shuffling, or at least this quickly during this period of time. But they felt like that's kind of what they needed to get into a better spot. Kind of on the higher up.
Okay. Any talk about just like urgency? I know Pirates fans they want urgency right now. Was there anything about that? About like, hey, like stuff's happening, we need to make sure we get involved.
Yeah, not a ton of not a ton of talk in terms of urgency. Ben Cherington said that he kind of views the beginning of December as kind of being in the winter meetings, kind of being the beginning of the off season. And we've seen in the past, like the Pirates haven't made a ton of moves during the winter meetings. I mean, it's been very limited. The Marco Gonzalez trade was the only thing they did last year. 2 years ago, Vince Velasquez and Harleen Garcia were the only signings. And then if you look even further back, there's not a ton of big name acquisitions or any acquisitions really during the winter meetings. So will things happen this week? I mean, time will tell still, but he still feels like there's a ton of off season left to make something happen.
Gotcha. I can't let you go without asking you one more question. Pirates Twitter is going crazy right now because there's some very sketchy sources who are saying that they're involved in talks with Anthony Rizzo, first baseman of previous Cubs and Yankees lore. Is there anything to this? Are you hearing anything on this whatsoever?
I haven't heard anything on this particular front. I might have to still do a little more digging into this, but haven't heard anything in particular on Anthony Rizzo. Obviously, I mean, good and bad that would come with Rizzo coming into the organization. Obviously, he has the pedigree of being a more than capable first baseman with power. Last couple of years hasn't been the same player with the New York Yankees. Injuries have been a concern. Not the same hitter that he was when he was in his prime with the Cubs. So does that kind of fix everything for the Pirates? I don't necessarily think so, but I haven't heard anything specific on the Rizzo front.
Yeah. This morning I said that if the Pirates acquire a major leaguer here, I was going to go down those slides.
Yeah.
Your prediction, am I going to go down those slides this week?
I think that they will acquire at least one major leaguer between now and Wednesday. I don't know who that major leaguer would be, and I don't know kind of what the caliber of major leaguer would give you excitement going down that slide.
I might be sad going down
I'm
the
not
slide,
sure exactly what your attitude is going to be like going down that slide, but I'll say that you will go down.
Okay, there we go. So Jose says we're going down the slide. So, hey, appreciate you hopping on with us today.
Thank you guys so much.
It was, that's it, day one, winter meetings here in Dallas. Who knows, something else could happen later tonight. I mean, obviously stuff happens at all times of the day, but that'll be a wrap from us. We'll be back tomorrow with more. And like I said, hopefully we got more to talk about tomorrow. But yeah, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We'll talk to you later.